I had like a lovely, oh my God, that was amazing. I tried to replicate, I could never get it right. The pav bhaji.
Oh yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I agreed. I
Oh,
agreed. Agreed.
that's,
Agreed. I miss that
now
a lot.
if I want to do pav bhaji, see, Pakistan mein, like, they all love meat. So I think I would have to add chicken to it, just, shredded chicken. Get that going. Because they will never pay for that. Ay, ke paise kaun dega itne sare?
All views and opinions expressed in this podcast are not meant to offend or hurt the sentiments of, including, but not limited to, any person, dead or alive, religion or ethnic group, community or country. The primary purpose of this podcast is to build a cultural bridge and shed light on the similarities that we share with our friends from across the border.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kunal Vijayakar and Chef Saadat Siddiqui.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
Pleasure having you guys on the show and looking forward to a fun 1 hour. So guys, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate you taking time out, especially on a Sunday when I'm sure you guys have a lot of activity or absolutely none planned. The other way of looking at it.
Nothing.
Fully bekar. Why it's perfect. Not only friends, but even colleagues and associates from across the border. But because of certain news channels, I used to do a show for a channel, a food show for a channel. We ran it for about 8 or 9 years. And there were official invitations from across the border. But I was told that if I would go across the border, I'd get killed because that particular news channel had gone after Pakistan so badly that it was, how it is, how news channels become.
Yeah, of
but
course.
it has always been my dream to get into Lahore or maybe Karachi and just eat.
What did you hear about? Like, what food was legendary that the stories came across the border for you?
So look, it's predominantly the meat, okay, and the great salads that come from North India and from the Islamic cuisine, which we also have. I mean, largely most North Indian food can be divided into the Punjabi kind of food, and then the sort of Mughlai kind of food. And what I'd heard is that the quality of the mutton, the quality of the beef, the quality of the masala, the quality of everything that we eat over here, the niharis and the kormas and everything are like 10 times better across the border.
Achha.
Because the food is inherently from there, so they do it better than we do it. So that's what I wanted to go eat. Nice oily food on the road also.
Of course. And how did these stories come to you? Like, how did this folklore from Lahore come to you?
So, it's not folklore. It's you meet people who've come from across the border for whatever reason. I've met journalists who've come from Dawn. I've met other people. And after discussing cricket, which I can't because my cricket knowledge is so terribly bad, we discuss food.
That makes all of us, actually.
Yeah, we don't really discuss our own governments. So, and because it sort of honestly leads to nowhere. So we discuss food and women. Because I think women on both sides of the are attractive.
That gives us ideas for our next week's podcast, Umair.
Food done. Women next. Oh shit.
Yeah.
We're gonna get skewered. It just seems
like that. Nice.
Yeah. Kunal, it seems like food seems to, at least from our end here in Pakistan, it seems like food is the national pastime, right? It's like a sport even. I mean, if we are dividing teams, if it's Suveer and Saadat and you and I, so, we look like, we're not as fit as. So we seem like, people that are really indulging in this sort of national past. Is this the same across the border as well? I can tell from experience that our social calendar or our entertainment is food. When we get, instead of, kahin chalke kuch karte hain, it's kahin chalke kuch khate hain.
Absolutely. I think even across the border, and I'm saying now I think India has a far more varied culture than Pakistan has, because we go into, east, west, we go to south, we have all kind of different people, and food plays a very, very important role in most entertainment, in most invitations, in most hospitality, in most functions, in most religious functions. So, I mean, even a religious function that you do, a puja, cannot be done without food. You always feed the gods.
Absolutely.
Before you start eating yourself, You feed the gods and take blessings from God, saying, "आपको भी खिलाया, अभी हम खाने को बैठ रहे हैं." You know?
True.
So food is very, very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, overwhelmingly. मतलब मैं just मैं एक example बता रहा हूँ. Like somebody falls in love and they get married and पूरा खानदान आया होता है, दूर के 300 लोग आए होंगे, ठीक है, मगर वो पूरी जो इवेंट होता है वो उस पर होता है, हाँ यार शादी अच्छी थी, लोग भी अच्छे, खाना अच्छा नहीं था. I mean this is a life changing event for those people, but नहीं यार खाना अच्छा नहीं था. So it seems like it's always this anchor point that's underpinning every experience, at least here in Pakistan.
You know, amongst my Parsi friends, and I have a lot of them, and they have a very distinctive cuisine. I don't know if both of you are from Pakistan have had a chance to taste Parsi food, because Karachi has a lot of Parsis, okay? And I know of a couple of Parsi families from Karachi as well. Their wedding food is very different from the food that is made at home, which is obvious because घर पे घर का खाना बनता है और wedding में caterer का खाना बनता है. But they look forward to it and they say, अच्छा तो शादी का invitation है, कौन से तारीख पे है, पूछने से पहले caterer कौन है, ये पहले तो अगर ये caterer है तो फिर हम जरूर जाएंगे, you know?
Yeah, caterer and menu printed on the cards. Falana getting married. This is on the menu, guys. All right.
Saadat bhai, what about you? आप कभी इंडिया आए हैं?
Yeah, luckily I have many occasions. Bachpan mein I remember, you know, we had like 80s के अंदर when I was like in the high school or before high school. I think 2-3 trips थे because वो my khalas are there, my uncles are there. There used to be a time we used to very often travel. About last like 22 decades, so things are getting worse, so they stopped traveling. So वो एक issue था, I couldn't travel. The last, if I recall, was like 2007 or 10, and that was like recent. But I didn't go to. By the way, family from Allahabad.
Oh, okay.
And we are very proud of Allahabadi. Like, you know, we would like to keep the heritage and the food. We you know, we brag about that. But last time I couldn't go because I was an official tour with Unilever. So I was in Bombay or Mumbai.
Bombay. इस podcast में हम Bombay ही बोलते हैं. We don't say
It's
Mumbai.
so hard for me.
नहीं, Suveer is very very gung-ho about calling it Bombay, by the way. मैं भी
okay. Yeah,
Mumbai नहीं Bombay.
Bombay. Mumbai से आया मेरा दोस्त. So luckily I was with this photographer. It was a very nice. He was, I think he was, his wife was Parsi, so but he was very nice. Then he made me eat like we were there on a shoot, like, you know, still photographs. Jaydeep. So he made sure I eat all the food, like nastika breakfast and this and the other. And then there were like few days I went out by myself. It was very nice because I went to Chopati. I wanted to see Chopati.
Of course.
Then I went to the beach side. I can't remember the name. You know, there's a nice neighborhood. All those big stars live there.
Juhu.
Bandra, yes. So the guy I was working with, you know, he was a food stylist, so he had like a small bar there. So I ate at that place. Then I took a little tour. I love the way they serve. I think he was right, Kunal. When it comes to food, I think we master in the meat, and then you guys master in the variety of the vegetables. I mean, there's amazing flavors that you all have there. So I explore a lot of food. Also, gunpowder was so amazing for me to try on that. You know the gunpowder?
South Indian gunpowder.
Yes, so they were doing
yeah.
And it's amazing to try the gunpowder. And then a funny story, because we have puris here this big. So I was walking down the street and I love the place Fab India. So it was a great kurtas. I got it from there. I still have it. Amazing place. It's like Khadi's Umair. It's like Khadi's to us, but it's a different version of Khadi. And then they have like everything from soaps and then the body lotions and everything. You know.
Sure.
So I was walking down the street, but I'm a big fan of street food, like rather than the big restaurants. So I had this the puri wala, you know, and then I said, "Bhai, mujhe dijiyega." He was like, "Kitni do?" I'm like, "Those should be more than enough because I'm not a big puri fan. It's very greasy and oily, but I love it." So you know what? He looked at me. He's like, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, do bahut hai. And then I realized, I need 2 dozen because they you guys make it so small.
Oh, these are the pani puris you're talking about.
pani puri.
No.
Put the whole thing in your mouth.
No. It was like puri, but like he was making small puris, like two bites maybe.
So वो पूरी के साथ क्या दे रहा था? What was it?
Sabzi thi, but like how we have big puris. This guy was like making a small size. We don't we have like this big size puris.
Like was
Correct.
it chola? Like ragda
So
package maybe?
with a chola.
So
And then I had like a lovely. Oh my god, that was amazing. I tried to replicate. I could never get it right. The pav bhaji.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I agreed. I miss that a
Now,
lot.
if I want to do pav bhaji, see, Pakistan, mein, they all love meat. So I think I would have to add chicken to it. Just shredded chicken. Because they will never pay for that. Because that's amazing.
No.
The cow and then the butter. And then it was amazing experience. I mean, the food. You know what, Kunal? Maybe you help me. I was just digging into it. I'm doing this restaurant, hopefully. And I had this. I stayed at Kulaba Hotel, ITC Hotel in Kulaba, if I recall it.
नहीं.
I think it was ITC.
Taj
And they
है
have this-
Colaba में.
Parel, ITC at Parel,
Yeah.
Colaba में आप.
Taj.
Nevertheless, that's not important. Like,
Okay, but the guys, whoever, they told me to go and try the dal bukhara. They have this bukhara restaurant there.
That's
yeah,
ITC.
so that's
Yeah,
ITC.
the dal was amazing. I mean, the whole thing was amazing. The chicken. But what I loved, the naan. They served me this thin long naan. It tasted like a sourdough. This
Correct.
I want to get there. How they manage it to make it that sour? It's not too purana, and it has flavor.
तो जो नान बनाते हैं हम लोग उसका जो स्टार्टर होता है और सावरडो का स्टार्टर होता है वो सेम होता है.
Oh, is it right?
Then you allow it differently and sourdough becomes into this thing and goes into an oven. This goes
Yes.
onto a tandoor. But the starter is
So
the
they
same.
use a starter.
You can use a starter for the naan.
Oh, that was so distinguished. I mean, I can still recall the flavor. I mean, like look at them, hamara food same hai. Yes, it might be same, but then what we realize over the years, we have developed new food also. Pakistan ki bahut se areas were never been exposed.
Right.
Like recently, I've been traveling a lot in Pakistan. Then we have this, and then I was surprised, Umair, but you'd be surprised also. They have a cuisine called NWFP.
Okay.
Like
Northwest
Northwest
Frontier.
Yeah, हमारे पास नहीं है ये.
Huh.
And this is
We
from
used to
Pakistan.
have a NWFP, but no cuisine. I mean,
And they have, I remember the menu says NWFP, the food and all that.
oh, wow.
What's the
It's
food like?
meant to be from Peshawar and that sort of Pakhtun kind of food.
Yeah. And the only Pakhtun food we're familiar with now is one is the karai, and the other would be namak gosh or something, like just something with no nothing else. And I was so shocked. I said, यार ये क्या हमारे मुल्क में होता है, हमारे पास ये चीजें नहीं है.
So मैं बताता हूँ. The idea is that they have just adopted the cooking method on the northwest frontier. Okay, the cooking method of Afghanis and all, which is your basic tandoor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So even if you look at the history of the tandoori chicken, the tandoori chicken is started only after partition.
Correct.
Oh,
तो
okay.
ये पंजाब से जो क्या बोलते हैं जो पार्टीशन पे लोग आए ना, पंजाब जब डिवाइड हो गया और वहां से यहाँ हिंदू लोग जो यहाँ आए वो दिल्ली में सेटल हो गए और दिल्ली में they had all these refugee camps. Yeah. तो वहां से सब सामान लेकर जो आए वो अपने साथ तंदूर में लेके आए और वो तंदूर में ओरिजिनली तंदूर में सिर्फ रोटी नान बनती है. इन लोगों ने कुकर लिया, चिकन लिया, उसको मैरिनेट किया और तंदूर में डाल दिया.
Oh, okay. That's and apparently,
So you will not get it. So you don't cook. See, the Northwest Frontier cooking, they don't put meat into the tandoor. The meat is done on sigdi.
On the skewer,
yes,
yeah.
Yeah, you do it on a barbecue. You know.
And that's funny. We don't use tandoor for cooking.
Yes, correct. So you do tandoor only for the bread.
Only for
Yes.
naan. Huh.
Only for naan, yeah.
Only
You
for
know,
naan.
Saadat bhai, it's very coincidental also that when Umair talks about his stories of eating in Bombay as well, I think even his favorite story is the pav bhaji, and we've gone over this in our first episode as well. Pav bhaji actually has a very interesting origin in Bombay. And Kunal, I'll let you tell the story, of course, because it's more native to you, and you
No,
very
you tell me.
eloquently.
I'll tell you my little pav bhaji story after you tell the origin story.
Because you very eloquently told us the story of the tandoori chicken so beautifully, which actually even I didn't know, to be honest. But pav bhaji actually originated as street food in Bombay, right? So while of course now it's considered to be a Bombay delicacy and people from all over the world come to eat the food on the street, several years ago, and I don't know what the timeline is, but I'm sure Kunal has the stat on the timeline as well. But several years ago, when the concept of majdoori was much higher, and there were workers, who looked for a meal at the end of the day, there would be restaurants in and around any commercial district, and restaurants would have leftover food at the end of the day, and all of them would bring their leftover food at the end of the day out onto a tawa, and all the vegetables that were there would get mashed on the same tawa. So you'd have a combination of flavors and textures and spices, and there was no science into creating it. And the bread in Bombay, which is pav, which is again native to Bombay, which, believe it or not, you don't even get in Delhi, right? It's very native to Bombay. Was then cooked on the tawa itself, and all the oil and the flavor from the tawa that was marinating in the vegetables, etc., would then soak into the bread, into the pav, which would become this really oily, greasy bread, which you get which would get served with this concoction of a mixed bhaji that didn't have any real scientific formula to it. It was just whatever was left over, and inherently vegetarian food, right? So it was all the leftover vegetables that got thrown into one combined pot, and that's how the pav bhaji plate was born, which was street food, of course, which is now become a Bombay delicacy that people from all over the world come to Bombay and are happy to have on the street, no matter how, whatever the idea of hygiene or the idea of, and of course now it gets thrown in with a lot of, the joke is that when you eat street food in Bombay, of course, it's got all the sweat and all the blah, blah, blah. And of course, all the love of the guy who's cooking
I
it.
think that adds extra flavor to it.
The special flavors.
Funny, let me tell you a funny story. We have this food festival in Karachi, in Pakistan now, which is like every year they do. It's called Karachi Food. So every restaurant go out there and they make food, or even people they want to try send out their food to test the market. They go there. So brand are very interested in it. So I suggested a brand that we should do a pav bhaji. The whole brand team was like, "Arey bhai, pagal ho gaye, sabziyan kaun khayega?" So I was like, "Yeah, try kar lo. Maine khayi, bahut achhi hai." And trust me, 2 years ago we did it. It was a hit. Umair, I don't know if you know this. The National Stall pe we did the pav bhaji.
Chicken ke
I mean, the closest as we could get, but it was a hit. So now we have this thing. We should do this pav bhaji restaurant or dhaba in Karachi.
It's very difficult to get pav bhaji, man. There's only like मैं सिर्फ boat basin पे एक वो Coolin है जहाँ से वो मिलती है, because that's an Indian.
The Coolin I'm not in a favor of any place. Its name is Coolin.
It's the only Indian restaurant I know. People don't brand themselves as Indian restaurant in Pakistan.
Yes. I mean, to your listeners, maybe there's one thing I'll find out in Garden. It's called. There's Shams Chaat Wala, which is like a Gujarati guy he makes a very good Zabardast chaat. There's a restaurant called Chili or something. They said I find out, I'm gonna go and try this. It's in a city, so I have to drive in. But they do a pav bhaji. So, but we really need this in Pakistan.
Kunal, you have a pav bhaji story as well.
You should do pav bhaji in Pakistan, and for the non-vegetarians, side mein ek chicken laga do ya mutton laga do.
Absolutely.
We have this something very close to this. Umair, maybe tumne try nahi kiya. It's called chicken lacha, which is like a purana chicken tawa, like a tandoori chicken or the chicken tikka. They shred this and they put all the gravy in the restaurant. They have it. They mix it together, and so they call
philosophy वही है कि मतलब it's you want to get rid of all those ingredients, so it goes into this very tasty.
But what is
Kunal, you had go ahead.
The only closest thing I could think of pav bhaji, it's hamara ban kebab, the ande wala.
Fair enough.
I mean that's like a mashed potatoes and chaat masala and all this, and then dip it in an egg and fry it. and it's like your vada pav, but this is like closest to your pav bhaji.
I've heard about the butter kebab. So the kebab inside, is it pure meat or is it a chop with with keema ka or potato ka chop?
Kunal, आज मेरा मैंने Insta पे एक story डाली हुई है, and I'll just see it. Yes, check it.
So I have a small story, pav bhaji story. So I grew up in a house at Chowpatty Beach. Chowpatty are this side Chowpatty, not Juhu. What is called Chowpatty,
Okay.
And we have a small roadside street food culture there. There was a restaurant, there still is, a place called Suksagar Snacks.
Okay.
And on the corner of Suksagar Snacks, I was very young, okay? One fine day, in the middle of the night, I could hear this cut sound, and these aromas coming up of masala aromas, And so we'd go down to the window and look at this guy with a big tawa, and he's banging on the tawa with this big lokhand ka kaltha. And I had no idea what that food was, because around that time it hadn't been popularized. Sardar Pav Bhaji Wala, which was at Taddev, had just sort of started, and this food had just started coming onto the road. So I'd say about 40 years ago, maybe. Okay. And those smells, one night finally I said, I cannot hear it. And that was my first, and the amount of butter they put in it.
Yeah, my God.
500 grams ka butter ka packet, Amul ka butter ka packet, aadhan lekin डालते थे.
That's the
sizzle,
It's a heart attack, yeah.
I think what is the secret to it? I think the pav bhaji ka secret is better. It's funny that the way they do. He mentioned कि जैसा katakat करते. We have a dish called katakat.
Oh,
is that so?
Yes.
Oh, you guys don't have it? Saadat को बताओ उसमें क्या होता
है? Same concept. It's the same concept, Kunal. It's the same concept of cooking on a tawa. And Karachi mein they call it katakat because the way they sound katakat, and in Lahore, Punjab they call it takatak. So
difference.
But you want to know what goes in it?
Of course.
Everything. Spare parts. क्या जाता है उसमें?
Let's start off. Go ahead.
Saadat, your show. I don't find words to name it, so बताओ ना क्या होगा वो?
नहीं क्या मतलब पूरे good balls man.
There's a dil, there's a gurda. Then a little bit of meat, like a chop meat, which they take the bone off, and then brain goes in it also.
Oh,
there's one thing special that बताएंगे ये.
What? There are no other words for it, man. Kapure, like good balls.
Kapure, testicles.
Yeah.
We have kapure here also. We have kapure here
also.
Oh, cool.
यहाँ भी खाते हैं.
But they make so tiny bite, like very tiny. The way they cut. It becomes a lot of masalas in it, tomato, and then ginger, garlic, garam masala. It's amazing, and with kasuri methi to finish it off, because the organ has a smell. So kasuri methi just adds a flavor. Amazing stuff.
Nice.
So
nice.
if you give me an option of एक plate में घोस और दूसरे plate में गुर्दा कपूरा कलेजी दिल भेजा, I would put the घोस aside and only eat this. I know it's high cholesterol, but it tastes so. My mother used to make Gurda Kapura in green masala. Masala. I don't know what she used to put in it, but obviously धनिया वनिया जाता होगा उसमें. काजू का पेस्ट वगैरह कुछ डालती थी वो, and it was the best Gurda Kapura I've eaten anywhere.
I mean, you guys use a lot of kaju.
It's damn funny. You don't think of it. तो मैं एक बार मटन वाले के पास गया, और गोश्त वाला था ना नाके पे, छोटा सा दुकान है उसका, शायद दिन में एक बकरा कटता होगा उस पर. तो मैंने उसको जाकर पूछा कि भैया गुर्दा है क्या? So I said, हाँ गुर्दा है ना? So I said, चलो 1 dozen गुर्दा दो. So he's looking at me. Ask for 1 dozen गुर्दा जैसा you ask for 1 kilo mutton, Sir, एक बकरा कटता है. कहाँ से लेकर आऊँ आपके लिए?
But it's really funny, on that subject of talking about delicacies that come from goat, and this is, I think, a commonality that we see in South Asia, right? That we eat most parts of the goat, right? I have an uncle who lives in Australia, and of course, I mean, he's grown up, born and brought up over here, and then he travels to Australia back and forth because of some business interests. And he was at the butcher on one Sunday morning, and he went and he bought his meat, and he's a Parsi uncle, right? So obviously, like very, very passionate about his meat, and he's going to sit with the butcher and select hit the cut he wants, and then he asked the guy, "Aapko bheja hai?" I mean, in English, he asked him, "Do you have brain?"
That can be a Parsi. Parsi don't use this delicate language. आपको भेजा.
नहीं,
तेरे को भेजा. और साथ में गाली पूरी गाली के साथ.
Of course, this is in Australia, so this is in English. He's like, "Can I buy the brain off you?" And that guy looks up to him and he's really shocked. And he's like, "What? You want to buy the brain?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I've already thrown the brain away." And that guy's like, "Are you mad? The brain is a delicacy for us." He's like, "You want the brain? I've done 4 slaughters today. Please take all 4 brains for free." And this guy was so happy because he came with 4 brains free of cost, realizing that the insight was that the brain is a delicacy only in South Asia and not in other parts of the world. And I wonder why. Do you guys have any inference on why this could be?
I don't know, Kunal. Maybe you wanna.
France does brain. France also does testicles. Delicacy in France. I think
France
the
also
French
does
eat
snails and frog legs, and they do everything under the sun,
they
like
do.
Japan and China.
So I think France has done justice from nose to tail of most animals, including oxtail and marrow. So
They do marrow a lot. Bone marrow. They do a lot of bone marrow.
especially beef marrow, bada Sri Lankan beef marrow. Nice you get. So I think
You'll be surprised. When we talk about the food, I recently discovered like Pakistan made this a place up by Balochistan towards Iran and then Afghanistan border, Zob. So what they do it's a very dry, cold weather, and it's a very remote area, and in Kabail it's like little there's no such a government there, but they have a thing called landi, and landi is like they take the particular size of lamb, certain age, certain fat, the way it's been fed. To score, they do a little. I think it's just salt and all that, and they dry age it.
Okay.
With the skin on,
Nice.
they just remove the hair and all that. It's like how they do this. The Gora saves it. So then they cook it. I mean, a friend of mine, he's a chef also. So once I was invited at his place. Man, the moment I entered, it was stink like a hell. मैं कहा कुत्ता कुत्ता मर गया तेरे घर में क्या हो गया? It was so bad. But trust me, when I finally ate the thing, it was amazing because it was just so succulent, meat, just meat, and its own fat. I mean, amazing experience.
So I think it's typical of snowy areas, areas where you don't get food for several months. The Northeast does that also. The Northeast pickles meat.
Pickles are the same thing.
Or dries meat.
Yes.
They of course do. They do only beef and pork. No mutton dry नहीं करते वो लोग ज़्यादा करके. But that dried beef, just smoked and dried. Smoke or dry कुछ लाए आप?
Talking of that, after my mom died like 2 years ago, I was always missing on my mom's food. So she used to make this badiya. Oh my God, it smells so good. These are like the lentils. We call it badiya. Do you guys call it badiya? Whatever it is.
Yeah, vadi. Yeah, vadi. This is a Sindhi dish that we make. Vadi aloo. We cook it with aloo.
Vadi aloo. Okay, yeah. So we make vadi pyaz and all this. So I tried to ask my sisters and call everybody. So they're like, "Oh, hum to nahi banate ab. It's too hard." So I made them. So I keep them. So there's also if you look at the food, they used to store food at that time, and then I see also the way they cook it for some Hindus, because we were living in the area also. So my mom used to say that क्योंकि जो लोग meat नहीं खाते थे, that was the closest they could get to the meat also. We have this something called munshi, which is like a smaller size of the badiya. So when you cook it, it might give you some feel and texture of like a keema and all that. So amazing thing that how people used to secure food for the rainy days. Then I found out in Pakistan, how we pay in the big city enormous money for sun-dried tomatoes because they're Italian sun-dried tomatoes. And we go up north by our place called Hunza. It's a beautiful area, Hunza. So you go on, like you see, sabki chato pe the roofs is it's all sun-dried tomatoes. They're drying there and apricots. And so I was like, yeah, ये तो बड़ा सस्ता है यहाँ पे, because we never explore our area. You know, we always गोरे का है तो अच्छा है, महंगा होगा. And then I explored porcini mushrooms. They're so expensive in the real market. Over there was cheap because they say they call some local name, so I got it for very cheap as compared to find in the city. So I think what we need to do, we need to explore our own country as well before we go out, and and we have so much.
Even Rajasthan, which is again a desert area, the most popular thing that comes out of Rajasthan is Kher Sangri. Kher Sangri is like Kher Sangri, okay? It's like a shrub which is dried.
Oh, okay.
So I had it. Yeah, you just little soak it in water and you cook it up, and it's pickled also,
Yes.
So
I had this because we have a very close by, like 6-hour drive from here. It's a place called Thar. It's a Registan, and I think that other across the border is Kutch. So there's a lot of influence. You see, you see how they eat those like a melon kind of thing. They're very small in size. They dry, and then what you talk about, the shrub. So they soak it in water. The only thing they use is salt and little chili and turmeric. They don't have much of the spices. They're very poor people there. And when you see how they survive, they eat. It's amazing food.
On that topic, third food, right? So I've read up on how they sometimes make food out of locusts, right? The pests.
Yes, locusts.
So
really.
Yeah. It's apparently, it works both ways. So they're a good source of protein, apparently.
Yes, and then I realized also, man, I didn't know that people would eat that.
Oh God!
And they
make kadai. They catch it in tons.
हाँ वही है ना कि देखिए फॉर एग्जांपल हम अगर बाहर जाएंगे, हम जैसे वो ये सुवीर बता रहा था किसी को, जब भाई हमें ब्रेन चाहिए, वो पागल हो गया यार, ब्रेन खाएगा ऐसे ही. मतलब I mean, insects are a source of protein.
Absolutely, yeah.
They can be in our cuisine if we want them to be, if you can get over the hump.
Is chaat very big as well in different parts of Pakistan as well? I know, like for example, in Bombay, most parts of India actually, whether it's Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, etc., they different words for calling it the puchka or the pani puri or the golgappa, whatever it may be. But like chaat is a very, very big part of our culture over here, and part of the street food culture, and part of the, as Kunal said, the wipe your forehead with the sweat and all the masala and the love that goes into it. But big part of culture as well.
It's big here also because I think it's the economical factor also. Like a lot of people eat as a meal, and it's easy to solve. You see hawkers everywhere. We don't have big places that's like chapatis and all this where you go for the charts only. So we only might have a few places, but it's big.
What is the most popular chart?
I know the women, especially whenever they go to the bazaar, they make sure कि जाना है तो वो बोरी बाजार. When we have this place called Bori Bazaar, so they make sure कि वहाँ जा रहे हैं तो वहाँ की चाट जरूर खानी है.
We also have Bori Bazaar.
I mean, they're everywhere.
What is the most popular chart foods?
Yeah, हमारे यहाँ we don't have many names. I mean, we have Karachi में especially Lahore and Pindi has samosa chaat. We have chana chaat or mixed chaat with dahi bade and then dahi pulki in it. This place I know in Gujarat, they sell Gujarati, so they have bel puri and then pani puri wali chaat. But then pani puri, golgappe is it's common everywhere we have.
Is there a distinct difference between the cuisine of, say, Lahore, Karachi, Rawalpindi? Is there and then as you go towards the more hilly areas of Pakistan, in the mountainous areas, very, very different?
It's such a different. वजह ये है कि Karachi you might find pretty much any food and every food. So but the thing is, our food is mostly much spicier, more flavorful. Not in a bad way or good way. Flavorful. It's like more exotic spices. See, a lot of people migrated from India, so they brought their food with them. Punjab is more on like a very simple, good food, like a lot of meat or palak and all that. butter perhaps. And then if you go towards NWFP, so they don't use spices. They are like again only
Correct.
meat would be, or maybe lobia, the lal red beans. So their food is it's very in a different way they flavor their food.
उसमें
So
थोड़े
whatever
behavioral वो भी
तो
हैं
ability से होता है.
right Sadat, there are some behavioral changes as well. So for example, मतलब when I was living in Lahore, so नाश्ते from Karachi, नाश्ते में by default is halwa puri, right? You go to Lahore, by default nihari khao for
Nihari.
breakfast.
Actually, Nihari culture was.
What am I eating
So
eggs
you
here
missed
for?
out.
Then?
You missed, Umair. I think you are like very younger than me. I still remember when my father used to take me Sunday for sabzi mandi. So we used to go and pick
अच्छा.
up the sabzi. Like हम अपने लिए तो एक पाव लेते होंगे, पर पूरे मोहल्ले के लिए, cousins के लिए. So I used to, bring all the sabzi for them and the fruits. On the way back, we used to buy Nihari, and Nihari used to have a slogan called "Subha Nihari, Sham Nihari."
Oh wow.
And Nihari was eaten. The word "come Nihar" means like first thing in the morning, like early in the morning.
Oh.
So it was overnight, and Nihar, like in the morning, you eat that. So that's how the word comes, Nihari.
Nice.
So you have salad, curry,
Yes. So that's how. So it's supposed to be a breakfast thing. Now,
It is supposed-
work,
wow.
you all become lazy. They all Sunday was late. 10,
वो
10 बजे
रात भर पकती है निहारी सुबह सुबह खाने की.
हाँ, अब लोग सो जाते हैं ना, लोग they don't get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
So it used to be. I remember we used to go with our pot. Nihari leke aate the. Then the whole family sat down. We eat with those shirmal and the naan. But now it's only puri.
But
You don't
even
have
now,
any option for breakfast though.
but even if you now go into the older area, पुरानी दिल्ली में जाओ या आगरे में जाओ, which is the predominant Muslim area, और पुरानी area तो दिल्ली विल्ली के है, सुबह को निहारी मिलती है. 6 बजे सुबह को गरम गरम रोटियों के साथ निहारी मिलती है. लखनऊ में जाओ, you can get even Mumbai.
Yeah.
In fact, day after tomorrow I'm shooting for some breakfast episodes कर रहा हूँ मैं. उसमें after doing jalebi fafda in Opera House, I'm heading straight to Noor Mamadi to have nihari in the morning.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
But I missed
What a
that
morning it's gonna be.
Ali Bagh, I missed because I heard they had a good food, so I couldn't go.
When Ali
Last
Bagh?
time I was there. Ali Bagh or something?
Oh wow,
Ali Bagh
Saadat,
is a beach
you've
place
become a
about 2
full
hours out.
South
They
Bombay
said
boy
they have a
now.
very good barbecue joints there in Bombay.
अलीबाग में नहीं,
अलीबाग-
अलीबाग में people just have their holiday homes. Maybe किसी के घर पे
अच्छा,
अच्छा barbecue बन रहा था.
और seafood मिलता है.
कोई और जगह होगी. They mentioned something that for good barbecue you gotta go there, so I missed out on that. Muhammad Ali something.
Muhammad
Muhammad
Ali
Ali
Road.
Road, absolutely.
Muhammad Ali
Yeah,
Road.
yeah.
Muhammad
Yes,
Ali
yes.
Road, in fact, so is I was talking about our Bori Mullah basically, right? So under Muhammad Ali Road, it starts right from the market, Crawford Market, and goes all the way to the other side. And the road basically, I mean, I'm sure it's alive through the year, but most people, I'm sure, like Kunal, I can speak on behalf of him and me. Everyone goes there for iftar during that 1 month of Ramzan, right? And from 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. that street, and when I say street, it's not a street, it's a main arterial road of Bombay. That street just comes alive from 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. because it's like I don't even know where to start and where to begin with the kind of food that you get there, the different so I have a friend who basically he's been taking us for the last 16 odd years now, 17 odd years. And there's a routine, right? The routine starts at 8 o'clock and it starts with chicken and then it goes to Barahandi and then, we do it goes to Barahandi. Then there's one gully that you go to just for the desserts, in which you're doing all the milk-based desserts. And unfortunately, Firnis, Malpuas, unfortunately, I'm lactose intolerant, so I end up giving a lot of that as skip. Then there's the kulfis that come after that, and it's a 4-hour eating extravaganza. The good thing is that you're walking, right? Because it's a very busy street, it's very crowded. So Kunal, what's your favorite memory at Muhammad Ali Road?
So I have my favorite memory of Muhammad Ali Road is that it's become more and more crowded as years have gone by. It's become into a place to go to. It's become very touristy because everybody goes there. और बकरीद पे बकरा काटते हैं, रमजान में सबको काटते हैं वहाँ because it becomes so expensive. आप जाकर बैठो वहाँ, एक प्लेट गुर्दा लोगे तो कुछ 200, 300, 400 रुपए they ask for it. So I discovered that Bori Mohalla, which is 3 lanes away from So there is this one lane which is there's a Minara Masjid, which is the big main lane.
Yeah.
जहाँ पूरा वो सब तमाशा बैठता है, all the stalls and all that shit over there, which is a good place to go when there's no Ramzan.
Correct.
There is another lane in Bhindi Bazaar, which is on Mamadi Road, which is called Bori Mohalla.
Yeah.
So that's the Bori kind of food, which is it's a Gujarati community, Muslim community, and their food is a little different. So you get all the kebab shawab to milte hai, but you get khichda.
Yeah.
You know, you have khichda and you think khichda milta hai. Then they have a very interesting thing called patrel biryani. Now,
patrel, what is that?
So patrel is that colocasia leaf ka jo
roll. My mom used to make salad out of it. Like you steam it,
Correct.
basically you steam it, just slice it.
Yes, absolutely.
She used to make kebab, like she used to make kurkure fry. Oh, they're amazing. Umair, you gotta try this.
So there's a guy called Firoz Farsan who sells you a handi full of patrel biryani. Now this patrel biryani has no rice in it. It's just, in the old days it used to be beef. Now I don't know what, mutton maybe or chicken he puts over in it. So patrels, those round things, meat and salad, thick as a gravy. There's a plate में डाल के देता है patrel biryani.
No rice.
No rice in it at all. Very interesting, no?
By definition, not biryani, but
yeah, biryani.
Biryani पे याद आया. When I was in Bombay, so they asked me कि भाई कोई पाकिस्तानी खाना बनाओ ना. तो मैंने कहा यार, so okay, what we have famous is biryani. हाँ बिरयानी बनाओ. कौन सी? मैंने कहा Bombay Biryani. Bombay Biryani. I was like, you don't have Bombay Biryani? We have Bombay Biryani. You don't have Bombay Biryani? They're like, no. I said, okay. So when I made it, they loved it. They were like, oh, that was amazing. They say, oh, तुमने इसमें कांदा भी डाला है. मैंने कहा, yes, I put kanda in it because that's dhania. So we put fresh dhania and a mint and then there's a green chili and tomatoes and then in layers. So, but I was shocked how the marketing works. We have a Bombay Biryani, and you don't have a Bombay Biryani, which is in Bombay. That was amazing.
But I'll tell you, the one thing that was most famous from Pakistan, which came to India and to the rest of the world, Dubai, was your Shan masalas.
Oh yes, that's my competition.
So I must confess, very good. You're doing stuff, Saadat?
I do for the competition brand. It's called National Foods, and
good.
So what we did, we traveled Pakistan for the last 7 years, and we did the whole series of exploring Pakistan, different cities from bigger cities to Chota Sheher. My new show will be coming soon, which is like I did a camper. Just I have my own kitchen. I open the kitchen. I have like camp tent. I stay in it.
Wow.
So I went to the up north in the Pahadon pe Pani mein, and that was a book I did for them.
This is
years ago. So it has like it's a lot of we did food, like we could see the Kerala. It's different stuff we try to do. So it was I think it was a good experience that I had with National. So that's like my competition basically. If you talk about
Shan does have a bigger export footprint. I think it's there in India as well. और पता नहीं वो gigi क्या वो.
So they had
it's a good brand. It's a good brand though. I shouldn't be saying it. It's a very good brand.
And it was for full duffers like us.
When they called me.
So they had a Bombay Biryani masala also.
Yeah, that's by default that's the biryani, right? So it's not you have जो हमारे shelves में होता है Bombay Biryani. So there's a competition within Pakistan. एक Bombay Biryani होती है, दूसरी Sindhi Biryani होती है.
Nice.
Right,
so
both. People don't know a difference. I don't know.
Even I don't. I'm Sindhi, Suveer Sindhi. So मुझे ये पता है कि आलू होता है. There's a Sindhi.
आलू बॉम्बे में भी होते हैं. ये लोगों का
आलू बॉम्बे में होता है.
You guys, you marketeers, you guys make us crazy.
नहीं. But Saadat, there is यहाँ पे थोड़ा insight है. Actually, the thing in India is, right, if you look for one food in India, that every state, I kid you not, every state has their own version of, it is biryani. We've got 29 states, 36 UTs with UTs included in India.
Hmm.
Everyone has their own biryani, and the biryani is diversely different, right? So we live in Bombay. We are used to a very Mughlai style preparation of biryani. But you go south of Bombay, which is to the 4 southern states, now 5 southern states of India, and like you eat Andhra biryani, you all will not call it biryani. I kid you not, you will not call it biryani. And
I'm sure.
every single state has their own rendition of biryani, and people just start becoming slightly familiar with the flavor that they are used to, for the biryani that they
Okay.
consume. And as far as the vegetables are concerned, the vegetables then kind of become the bells and whistles that get attached to it. And then as far as the meat is concerned as well, like for example, in Bombay, a lot of people prefer eating chicken biryani. It's probably the most common biryani, but biryani by definition is mutton biryani, right? Like, I mean, anyone who
Yeah, but
classically likes
yeah,
eating...
over the years, chicken is easy to cook.
Correct.
It's cost effective. They supposedly we should use basmati rice. But basmati rice, when you cook in a big vessel and for a longer time, it doesn't stay good. So now we have developed using a Sela rice, which is longer grain, and Sela has improved a lot over the years. So things are changing. I mean, if you talk about cuisine style, the only thing I could tell is Sindhi style would be different. Sindhi would cook it biryani like more of like a pilau, like in all in one, and biryani flavor. Biryani is supposed to be cooked masala separately and the rice separately.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
वो नहीं होता है.
Sindhi biryani
Other
is
than
like a
that-
PG-13 version of biryani, na? Thoda kam spice, thoda kam flavor. Just
It's like how the
a little
Parsis
chill.
make it here. The Parsis
Other
do
than we
palau
have
over here, which
very
is the same
Bombay bakery in Hyderabad.
thing.
Amazing cake.
yeah.
People line up in queues and they only have like open 2 घंटे के लिए खुलेगा भाई. That's it. आज आपको chocolate मिलेगा, कल केक मिलेगा.
But it's like how we have Karachi, right? In Bombay and Pune, we've got Karachi. In Bombay, we've got Karachi sweets, which actually... Karachi
Very
bakery in
big
Pune and Karachi sweets in Bombay, actually, believe it or not, has the best pani puri. Kunal, I don't know whether you've been to Hill Road, Karachi sweets.
Never.
Best pani
Where is
puri... Hill Road. I'll take you when we meet
Okay.
next. Best pani puri in all of Bombay, and I eat a lot of pani puri. In fact, at my best, I was able to eat 80 pani puris at one go. So I consider myself to be a little bit of a pani puri aficionado or snob. Best pani puris are from Karachi sweets, and Karachi bakery in Pune is a different story. It's been around since, Kunal, I don't even know how many years. I've been seeing it since my life, and I don't know how many years you've been seeing it since before that.
But coming back to the biryani and the aloo in the biryani, there is a story. The Bengalis are very, very proud of their biryani. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And they will fight with you about their biryani. And because there's a huge Muslim population in Bengal also. Okay?
Yeah.
And the story is thus. So Wajid Ali Shah was the Nawab of Awadh and Lucknow, was overthrown by the British, and they packed him off. They took all his money and they packed him off to the borders of Bengal and into Bengal. And he traveled to Bengal with very little money and with a huge amount of staff and his khansama and all that liquor, but Bengal pahunch gaya. And he had to, and Lucknow ka pulao was like the most famous thing on earth. So he could not afford enough meat to put in the biryani to feed everybody. So they started adding potatoes and boiled eggs.
So he was carb loading, basically.
Yes. So that is why the Bengali biryani always has one big potato in it and one boiled egg in it. So that is the story.
That's how it came into it. Nice. Interesting.
I didn't know, Kunal, I heard so much about this mawa cake. Mawa cake, there is mawa in it?
So there is. So there is one bakery. This is the Irani bakeries, okay? One bakery opposite Grant Road station in Mumbai, Grant Road West. Yeah.
Okay.
P. Merwan, it's called.
Oh yeah.
P. Merwan. They make that mawa cake, which is small cupcakes, full of mawa. Okay. So it's like a sponge cake, but full of mawa. So you realize it's very oily, greasy bhi hoga, and very rich, tasty. And they make it at 7 in the morning, and it runs out by 9 in the morning.
Wow.
So no baje khatam ho jata hai. But
guys, I'm getting hungry, man.
Is the recipe out for it or no? It's a secret.
They don't make this. This is mad. This is this arrogant Irani restaurant owners, you know. We only make so much. Nahi banana.
Okay.
Wow.
there is a Kayani restaurant. Now they're much better.
Same attitude with the Bombay wala हमारे पास. He doesn't give you दो से आज दो देंगे आपको बस तीसरा नहीं मिलेगा.
हाँ it's like वो
don't
rationing
care.
types, लोग भाई वो line लगती है वो, like Saadat is saying, right? Bombay bakery, it's not even in Karachi, it's in Hyderabad, and people from all over the country go there, stand in line for like 5 hours, they open for 2 hours, और वो आपका ration system होता है, मतलब you can't buy more than 2, you have, like full. And they're like,
I mean, what is so sad? I mean, I'm seeing we used to have a lot of Hindu bakeries out there, and we know that Gujaratis are very good in mithai. We used to have a Shikarpuri mithai wala in Sunshine. I don't know, Umair, you know, in Tarak Road pe. They used to have a best kulfi and then best halwa. So we did this, we don't see them no more. I think we need to really explore our own food. जो हमारी heritage थी उसको निकालना पड़ेगा. I mean, I don't really hate, but I'm not a big fan of all this fancy French, Italian, so-called restaurants.
I'm in the same boat as you. Yeah.
We are not. I mean, if I were to open a restaurant, I know if I would put a chicken breast or something, which is I call it tikka or something, people would never pay me the price they would pay for a press of Nando's grilled chicken or something, or because it sounds fancy. So as a marketer, you guys need to work on it. So we should take pride in our own food and pay
Absolutely.
the price.
Absolutely. And in fact, having said that, towards the end of the episode, it's quite befitting that we're talking about dessert towards the end of the episode when we came to.
नहीं मेरा अभी main course से हटा नहीं है, इन्होंने टिक्का की बात की. So I wanted to ask Kunal, right? मैं अभी dessert पे नहीं हूँ. I'm still salivating over the main course, right? So when I go out of our region, so when I think tikka, I think like a piece of chicken, right? Barbecued and spiced and all. But when I go outside Pakistan, tikka is automatically chicken tikka masala. So it's like a gravy sort of thing, right? Is that English. Something?
No,
that's English.
That's English.
So,
yeah.
I heard there's no such thing in India.
मैंने तो सिर्फ
that's like a very British.
भाई मैं जिस इंडियन क्योंकि पाकिस्तानी रेस्टोरेंट कम होती है पाकिस्तान से बाहर, तो बाय डिफॉल्ट इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट जाते हैं.
इंडिया में चिकन टिक्का ही होता है. चिकन टिक्का मसाला ये ब्रिटिश इन्वेंशन है, इंडियन इन्वेंशन नहीं.
And same, Kunal, correct me wrong. Even the butter chicken is also very English.
No,
butter chicken is here.
Moti Mahal in New Delhi,
in Delhi,
old Delhi, after partition, after 47. 1947 के बाद बनी है butter chicken. It is not a traditional old Indian recipe. Okay, and chicken tikka masala has been made by the British pubs, and
which is now actually is the national food.
So what's the cream and everything in Indian food? Like whenever I go out in a restaurant or even a Mughlai food, they always put cream. Achha, in our cuisine, we don't see cream. Like the only cream which would see the
So I wanted to ask you this question only: is that I think the cream comes from the Lucknow over the side, kaju paste, cream, वगैरह वगैरह. But I've never been to Pakistan. Okay, I've never been to Pakistan, but the Pakistani food I have eaten is in Dubai. There's a lovely restaurant, Ravi karke ek hai wahan. Iyas karke bhi hai. I've eaten over there, and I find that there is a distinct difference between a Nihari which is made in Pakistan and a Nihari which is made over here. There is a distinct difference between a kurma, and I'm trying to find the common dishes.
Okay.
Kurma, which a simple kurma which is made in Pakistan, or kurma which is made in Old Delhi. So, and you've eaten in both places. So, do you find there is a recipe difference in the recipe, usage of spices between these two countries in the same food?
Same food. I mean, I don't recall too much of it, but I remember talking to one of my khalu, uncle who was visiting us. I say, what is the difference between our food? First of all, he said that Hindu food or Muslim food, the difference is we guys eat too much of oil. Where the Hindus, they don't use too much of oil, which is a very healthy version of the food they eat.
That's not necessarily true.
Really?
My question is not Hindu food. I'm saying Indian Muslim food and Indian Pakistani Muslim food.
Yeah, मुझे लगता है कि I think they use a lot of garam masala. We don't use garam masala. Our version is much lighter than the Indian version. Indians are very strong flavors.
Complex.
And let's talk about the korma. Korma mein the korma should have no tomato whatsoever. That's a crime to put tomato in korma.
I think there's a crime to put tomato in any Indian food.
Except for tomato curry. Except for tomato curry, and it's really kind.
See, Punjab has done this, कि onion or tomato लो, masala डालो, भुनाओ उसको, भुनाओ, और सब कुछ उसमें डालो.
Correct.
So I think tomato, if you look at traditional Indian food, the use of tomato is very, very, very little.
Minimal.
We never used to. I remember my mom always say, "Bhai, tomato डालना है, दही डालना कोई एक चीज डालनी." Now what we doing? We are mixing it both. So they both serve the same purpose, basically gravy के लिए and then the sour.
Correct. Correct.
So वो now people don't know. दोनों डाल देते हैं, then every other dish tastes same.
You know what? I
Caramelized onion, because it gives you the sweetness, the caramel flavor, and then little khara masala,
nice
and then towards
crunchy
the end
texture.
kevla. And the kevla has a distinct flavor.
What is kevla?
Green chili paste. Green chili ka paste.
No, okay, we don't put green chili in korma.
You don't, okay. Or
No green. Only will take garnish, which is like a fresh ginger. That's it.
That's it.
Traditionally, it should not have. And then we call it danedar. What's make it danedar is the fried onions when you cook it with yogurt. So it gives you the dana.
Nice, the
and
texture.
some people do with khashkhash. So poppy seeds, that also gives you the dana or badam. So it's called danedar. It's not a salan. It's very thick gravy. That's how it should be. Restaurants where they make it very like more gravy and all that, and no cream. Where in Indian, I know whenever the word korma comes in, this cream goes in it. So we hardly use cream now. It's a new dish called handi, which is like a kadai, boneless version of kadai that takes cream. Now people start putting cheese in it, paneer, kadai, whatever, like meat ke saath chili cheese dal denge. So we're killing it. But we hardly use cream. I mean, in our households, I never recall using cream in any food.
ये आपने restaurants की बात की. अब देखें आप दोनों, you guys are professionals, right? So we are just food is both our national pastime. But you guys actually know how to cook, right? So I just want to ask, just for my personal understanding, like how annoying is it if you are serving me food, whether at a restaurant or and I go like, हाँ यार ये मगर मुझे इसमें ना प्याज नहीं डालना इसमें, या इसमें, for example, my wife's a vegan, so can you make this in vegetables? So how do you react to something like that? And people do that.
I wish I could say my way or highway. But when you're in a restaurant business, it's like you have to please a customer, so no matter what. So you just suck it up.
I'll give you this example, not of Indian food, but of Italian. So there's a restaurant in the Oberoi over here called Metro. We had an Italian chef, okay? Now, हमारे यहाँ Italian food खाना बहुत सारा चलता है, okay? So I was shooting with him one day, and he says, I have a problem with these Indian people. I said, what is the problem? First of all, everybody comes and is vegetarian, so I can't eat that. What vegetarian? I said, but what to do? Vegetarians are there and they have money to spend also. Yeah, but they're telling me what color sauce to put. They're saying, give me with pink sauce, give me with green sauce, give me with yellow sauce. Now, what's the point of me even creating a menu if they're going to tell me every ingredient that goes into it? I want my pasta, I want fettuccine, and I want it with this, and you will put this. Why am I?
You know what I love best about that story? You know what I love best about that story is that we tried to start with this really distinct Italian accent, and then the hand action and all, and eventually it went to "Main kya kar raha hu?"
But the funny thing is, like, how Chinese food, I would say, look at it has to be a real Chinese. I say, if I serve a real Chinese food, you would never eat that Chinese food. I mean, Chinese food is so the good part Chinese ki wo Calcutta mein, it's what tastes Chinese is different than Mumbai, and then you have another version of Chinese called what is it? Sorry,
Chinese.
No. That's that came from Calcutta. They created their own Chinese version of that. It's called.
The dish का नाम या cuisine का नाम बोल रहे हो?
This cuisine ko like, you know how they make a spicy cuisine? It's called
Shezwan.
Shezwan तो वहाँ का है, Indian version of Chinese.
Shezwan तो Indian ही है.
What?
Yeah, Shezwan is an Indian cuisine.
Manchurian, chicken.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
There are dishes Shezwan from China, but there are certain dishes in Chinese which were invented here, like chicken Manchurian.
Yeah.
You will never get it in China anywhere. American chop suey, you will never get it in America or in China anywhere.
It's a Bengali style of Chinese.
Yeah, Bengali. No, but
This is news to me.
it went. Punjab and China have long relationships. They made Punjabi Chinese food, though, is very famous.
Yeah.
Umair, you will be surprised. Karachi Chinese is different than Lahori Chinese.
Really?
So that's how the food, because of the taste buds are very different. So does with Italians. Like हमारे up to Pakistan में, if you go to any restaurant, they serve a steak and whatever. I mean, people ask me, "Ki steak क्या marination बताया?" I say, "Yeah, there is no marination in steak. Steak just put the real meat and that's it."
Salt and pepper.
ये 12 मसाले डालते हैं, the hot sauce, the garam masala, so you name it. जो उनके हाथ में आता है ना, वो mustard they marinate it, then they cook it. Always chili somehow वो उसके अंदर कहीं ना कहीं होती है steak के अंदर. Pasta के ऊपर they put a lot of even in Chinese they put garam masala. I had been open in a Chinese restaurant, so I had these Bengalis to make this. तो उनके उसमें ये सब Chinese में मैंने कहा गरम मसाला you putting my Chinese food. बस आप trust me. I tried to sell the way I wanted it didn't work. The moment मैंने बोला आप भी मुझसे नहीं होता आप लोग चलाओ. It will start working because they were putting lots of garam masala and then chilies and then there's something I hate which is called chicken powder. That's like again all this thanks to all these marketeers उन्होंने इतना डाल दिया है. So you cannot cook a food without a chicken powder or chicken cube.
MSG, chicken powder. MSG.
Yeah. So people, उनके taste buds develop हो गए, so they don't enjoy the real flavor of the food, the sabziyan and all that.
One of my favorite biryanis in Mumbai is in a place called Jafar Bhai. Okay, Jafar Bhai Mansuri, the poor man just died. About lovely old man he was, and he's very big. Dubai में बहुत बड़ा. So you go there to eat biryani. And they also have a Chinese menu.
Yeah.
So baju wala chili chicken dry or Manchurian chicken he's eating with tandoori roti.
Oh wow!
Naan deke wo chicken kha raha hai. I said, who am I to say no to this? That's his very palate taste. वो तीखा मिर्ची soya sauce डाल के किया हुआ धनिया कौन धनिया डालता है Chinese food में?
Masaledar food. Basically, it's masaledar food. Yeah.
Umair से मैं पूछूंगा Umair, you know what? This is something I really feel ashamed sometimes. We live in Sindh and Sindhi food किसी को नहीं पता. We don't have a single food you can say it's a Sindhi food. Not a single restaurant where you can go out and have a Sindhi
That's
food.
true.
Really?
Kunal, I know that in India mein Sindhi food is big.
Yeah.
So we should do this collaboration somehow. We need to introduce the Sindhi food and talk about the recipes. Even it's a shame that I talk to my Sindhi friends कि भाई वो recipe दे दे. कुछ नहीं है वही chicken बना लो. I say yeah, but that's I want your family food. So that's big time missing, and I think you owe us to Sindh that you need to come up with the Sindhi recipes, and somehow we need to promote that also.
It makes sense. And
I believe the Sindhi food in India and the Sindhi food in Pakistan is pretty much the same. It's the same
We
dishes.
don't have a Sindhi food, but that's what I'm saying. We don't have a Sindhi food.
So
food
let me jump in
isn't
here.
there in the mainstream.
Let me jump. I'll take the Sindhi food question since I'm going to now heading to a nice Sindhi. So, like for example, Sindhi breakfast.
I mean, the only thing I could tell the shikarpuri achar is the only thing. It's
Nimbu achar, mango achar, the ras achar. So, like for example, Sindhi breakfast for us, my grandmom, of course, who grew up in Sindh, of course, she says halwa puri was her breakfast as well, but also weather pertaining. But over here, for example, a standard Sunday breakfast is a seal bread or a dal tikra, for instance. Pakwan dal, for instance, is a breakfast. For our Sunday lunch, standard is Sindhi curry with rice and aloo toks. And the Sindhi curry is made in 3 different variations. We eat it as a pure tomato curry. It's a spicy tomato curry, in which you take a bowl and you put some rice in the bowl and you fill the curry to the top. So it's like a soup that you're eating with the rice immersed in it. And there are double fry potato tikkis, which are called tuks, that have amchur and red chili powder thrown on them. What is amchur, Kunal? How do I better describe? Are you guys familiar with amchur? Dried mango powder, yeah, and red chili powder.
That's also a difference between very much Indian cuisine. We don't use much of the dry khatai powder no more.
Okay. No, we use it a lot, in
Only
fact.
chaat masala takes it, but recipes doesn't hardly any recipe takes it now.
Then the iconic Sindhi dish that most people will travel the world for to eat is sai bhaji. And sai bhaji is basically green vegetable, and it's a combination of 17 different vegetables. Don't ask me which ones. I'll get you the recipe, I promise you. 17 different vegetables that are mashed up with palak as a base and served to you pretty much like a pav bhaji, but without the pav. It's the bhaji, but it's this very green, very, very healthy bhaji.
Yes.
And then you eat it with whatever, rice, roti, whatever you prefer as your, as your carb substitute. And my favorite Sindhi dish, of course, is the Sindhi mutton, which is a slow cooked mutton, which is just falling off the bone, and it's cooked in this brown, gravy, brown onion gravy, and it's slow cooked. It literally just falls off the bone. It is probably the softest, most delicious Sindhi part of the cuisine that we have, but it depends very much on who's making, right? Like, I don't cook, but
you guys took our food from here.
Well, let's not go pointing fingers about what you took from us.
We don't want to give back the Bombay Biryani. Yeah, koi scene nahi hai, bhai.
We discounted the aloo tuk. That aloo tuk. It's potato fried 3 ways.
Yeah.
3 times.
It all sounds so Greek to me because we live in Sindh and we never heard of this.
Yeah, so sai bhaji is sai means green sabzi is something that I recognize as something that my mom cooks, but not necessarily. You don't see it in the mainstream. It's not like I can go out and order it or anything, right? So
you better invite me for dinner one day, and I'll make me feed
yeah,
all the
why not? Why not? Inferiority complex. Mama, मैं वो ना एक पाकिस्तान leading chef को ला रहा हूँ आपकी सब्जी खिलाने. अच्छा.
I love vegetables anyway. So
no pressure, mom. Whatsoever.
No pressure.
And they also eat the lotus root. Bee.
Yeah.
Lotus roots.
That's the only thing. Bay.
Yeah. That's true.
Vadi
aloo is also a very popular Sindhi dish, for instance, but it comes only in the winter. What you showed us, the badiya, the same thing. Only in the winter it comes. Vadi aloo are very popular Sindhi. I don't personally like it, but very popular with the Sindhis. Now, in fact, they've started. There are a lot of Sindhi restaurants in Bombay. Actually, it's a big community, and there are a lot of Sindhi restaurants. In big, I mean, I'm relatively big, but a lot of Sindhi restaurants as well, and they do everything right now. They're catering, they're doing tiffins, etc. A lot of my Sindhi friends who don't cook, etc., they call for, like, for us today, Sunday standard lunch every Sunday at every Sindhi household is going to be Sindhi curry with rice, the soup curry that I spoke about, with these aloo tuks, which are double and triple fried aloo tuks with the masala all over them. And there's meetha bundi that we eat with it, sweet bundi, which gives a little bit of diversity to the spicy curry flavor, and you throw some sweet bundi on the curry and you eat it.
Well, the curry.
Yeah, with the curry, on the curry. So it gives the curry a little bit of crunch with the texture, and the sweetness of the bundi takes away from the spice of the tomato curry. The curry can also be made with dal, with tur dal, but we don't make it with dal because that makes the curry slightly thick and it makes it heavy. And we like to eat it very, very light, so you can eat 2 bowls, 3 bowls, etc. And it's a Sunday ritual in the house every single day. And people who want to eat this,
send me the recipe, maybe make a small video for your mom.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think at least whatever we should get out of the whole conversation today, we need to do something, collaborate somehow to showcase our own food, take pride in our own food, and we should do something about it.
Maybe the two of you should co-create a new dish or something.
If there was any way I could get to Lahore or Karachi to come and eat, I would be very happy.
I love to travel. I mean, I have old memories from Allahabad and Lucknow and Sultanpur, Moradabad. I like to revisit my places from they were born, and the piece of land they own. And then in the South India, I love to, I don't know, because the spices they have, the different cuisine.
It's very different
Completely. Yeah. It's
So,
a different
you-
country.
So
you
yeah,
know,
that's one of my dream that hopefully one day the whole thing gets over. We all become can cross the and the funny part, when I lived in the States. Even I went to school there. There are those ittifaqs, and they was like mostly Sindhis also. A good friend of mine, he's like the best friend. He just passed away. He was Sindhi, Sanjay Aswani. His father was telling me कि वो how they lived in Sindh, and then यहाँ पे कराची में Ram Swami जगह है, he used to from there. And then the food I learned from his mom, my wife learned, there was a sabziyon ki curry with all those vegetables in it and the paneer. It was amazing. And whenever she cooks it, people love it. So that's the only Sindhi curry. I don't know if it's Sindhi or not, but that's a curry
Yeah, it's the same
with
thing that I'm talking about. Yeah, they put guar in it, and then they
Hindi.
put drumstick in it, and
Yes,
aloo
yes,
in
yes,
it, and
yes.
yeah, it's the same thing.
Aloo,
Yeah.
butter, the gobi, whatever you have it, you dump it.
Oh no,
It's
no,
amazing.
the
No, it's not
Sindhis,
that like that. Okay. So
no.
we pretty much okay. So we put
this
like
is
butter, gobi, aloo, and then carrots if we have, and gawar, and I think paneer and a little imli towards the end just to make it a little more
Yeah,
sour.
yeah.
Okay,
They
that's
put
what she did.
kukam in it. Yeah, which I assume serves the same purpose
Kukam
to make it sour.
Kukum
kukam
ke?
is
Kukam kya hota hai, Kunal?
red souring fruit, kokum. What is kokum called in English? I'll tell you. I have to-
Where does Google searches of 2021?
So, guys,
yeah.
while Kunal looks up the Indian definition of kokam, I have an interesting question that I'd like both of you guys to answer one after the other. If you were tailoring the ideal menu for yourself, breakfast, lunch, dinner, what would you tailor your ideal menu to be? Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Breakfast, lunch. An ideal for me would be, we call it tikkiya, which is a roghni roti. We put ghee in it and we do on a tawa, sekte hain, like rather than frying on a roghni roti. It's like not a paratha, but it's roghni. So I would love to put desi ghee on it and
Nice.
eat with malai. That would be my ideal.
So that's
And then
another
aloo
Sindhi
ki
food as
sabzi.
well. We call it koki. I
Is it?
think it's pretty much the same, right? And you put a little bit of
Okay.
kanda in it as well.
Ah,
Yeah, so we do that
and
as
then
well. That's a breakfast food.
I would have aloo ki sabzi with a lot of pani in it and little tomatoes. That's it. Just not too spicy. Very lighter for the morning. Lunch lunch में मुझे I'm not a big fan of khichdi. People think it's a bimaro ki dish, but I like it. And they're like gili khichdi, khadi like the one moong ki dal and papad and chutney. Dinner I would go for something mutton. We cook it mutton stew with one of my favorite. It's like lots of onion, caramelized onion with mutton or aloo gosht. I think that's like the patla pani. It has to be like a patla, not gala. It has to be like another shore, but it's very you can dunk your bread and soak it and then roti ke saath or chawal ke saath with
Nice.
bagare huए rice, like the pyaz wale chawal, jeera pyaz wale.
Nice.
That would be ideal for me.
And dessert?
Yeah, I'm a big
What about you, Kunal?
We have rabdi. We have
dessert.
rabdi. I had last night. We went to this place. They make this chai with malai marke and then the paratha. And then so samne there was a guy who was selling rabdi, amazing rabdi in Lakhtabad. It's like and rabdi is only in Karachi and Hyderabad, but in Punjab you don't find this rabdi. Rabdi is like I don't know if you had the same one. Where the buffalo milk को पका के ना वो साइड में जो
same
निकलती
one.
रहती है
Yeah,
finish it
yeah.
and अच्छे वाली apparently पूरे पाकिस्तान में सिर्फ कराची में ही मिलती है दादा.
We make the same thing at home also. It is amazing. It's probably my rabdi at home is probably the second best rabdi I've eaten ever.
Biased much?
What
about you, Kunal? What would your daily
okay.
Before that, why don't you tell us the English kokum which you were Googling?
It's a terribly long Latin name.
Oh.
Cluvisia or something, man. I don't know what the
Okay.
Cluvisia something, man. Oh, yeah. I know it.
Anyway, so my ideal breakfast would be kidney on toast.
Nice.
Right, masala kidneys on toast with one portion of egg akuri, the Parsi style.
Yeah.
जो भुर्जी बनाते हैं ना भुर्जी, egg scrambled eggs with masala in it. Yeah. Scrambled egg masala, red chili, lovely. So kidney toast and egg masala. Lunch would be from my community. When I come from a very small community which is Bombay based, prawn khadkhadla. It's khadkhadla. It's a very simple dish. You do it with prawns, which you don't shell. You have it with head and shell on, and it's cooked in oil. Tons of garlic, red chili powder, haldi, and we have our own garam masala. Okay, which comes from the community. That's it. 4 ingredients, but tons of garlic. And I'd like to eat it with sweet rice,
What sweet rice?
So we make a rice which is in kesar and in sugar.
Like zarda?
Like zarda, exactly like zarda. Okay, with badam.
With prawns.
Unbelievable. Tikha, बहुत तीखा और मीठा साथ में खाने.
Is this a common thing, or is this your version of eating it?
It's my version. It's my version.
I mean, I like to eat biryani with a little bit of zarda. You know, they give you that.
Kunal, is this eaten with your hands best?
Finger.
With your
always.
fingers, yeah.
And in the night, I
जो
good
जो मसाला है ना, चाटने का जो मसाला है ना, yes.
But I like
अपनी उंगलियां चाटते रह जाएंगे.
And nothing turns me on like a good biryani.
Yeah.
A solidly good biryani with nice soft ghost in it. Huh?
Okay. You know, I like to add this कि हमारे यहाँ जो like in Pakistan में we don't marinate meat before we cook unless it's a barbecue. And Indian food I noticed कि वो biryani भी होगी तो वो दही के साथ उसको marinate करेंगे and then they cook it. So what we do, we cook our meat first in oil and then the garlic whatever and then you put pani shani for galao. But you know, in India they marinate meat. So I think that's a big difference in our food, the way we cook also.
Okay.
Unless it's a barbecue, we don't marinate nothing. We just cook it straight.
Even when you make a biryani, like kache gosht ki biryani jo kehte hain,
that's the only one.
Yeah.
That's the only thing because it needs papita, na?
Papita. Yeah, no, but even without papita, even with this dahi, if there is enough, because you know, तो कैसे बनाते हैं, okay?
Yeah, मैंने भी I think Kunal, I am so afraid of using it because मुझे लगता है कि how could you cook something on a bottom and steam के अंदर पक जाएगी? For us to solve, you know, to absorb, it has to be good.
Lots of ghee. You need ghee. वो क्या करते हैं? जो बिरस्ता करते हैं ना, जो the onions that you fry, वो घी में fry करते हैं, okay? उसका जो पूरा घी रहता है, you put it at the bottom of your handi. उसमें दही लगाए हुए गोश्त डालो और and do a bouquet garni of your masalas. पोटली में करो, डाल दो और चावल चढ़ा दो उस पे. It cooks 1.5 घंटे में कुक हो जाता है पूरा.
इनका bouquet garni is very different. I mean, we have this place it's called Hyderabad colony, so it's a very influenced Hyderabadi community. So they have pahad ka phool or something. They have very different herbs they use.
Okay.
Like we don't use those for their gravies and for haris they make it. By the way, I saw online on YouTube Pista House Halim. So I Google it. I went to 10 different videos. So I tried to crack that recipe. So it came out pretty good. You know, they use फूल गुलाब का सूखा हुआ फूल and काजू in it. साबला इतना महंगा कौन बनाएगा, but I tried to चलो बनाते हैं. So it came out pretty good.
I've gone to the Pista House. मैंने शूट किया था वहाँ रमजान के समय. 75 kilos of bakra कटा हुआ था.
Oh, wow.
And you know he cooks.
अच्छा बकरा हम अफोर्ड करते हैं, because it's too expensive here ना.
हड्डी वड्डी डाल के कुक करता है. He puts all the haddi in it.
And how do you take the haddi out?
So only then big haddi comes out. बाकी का सब गल जाता है उस पे. It cooks for so long.
Wow.
गल जाता है?
Yes.
Wow.
And his masalas go in like this toplis, you know, like baskets.
वहीं से देख के मैंने उसको कॉपी किया. मैं कहा ये डाला. Let's I tried to copy that kind of stuff. It was hard. So tell me something. They still do on aag, like the lakdi?
On fire. Because those vessels are so big that there is no way he can put it on any gas.
Yeah, I know, like Pakistan mein, you know, that's the only. Okay, that's why I give credit to Indians. आप लोगों ने फूड को अपना वैसे रखा हुआ है the way they should be cooked. आपके तंदूर अभी भी लकड़ी मट्टी का होता है. हमारे पास मट्टी का तंदूर बहुत कम होता है. इसे लोहे का तंदूर. That you guys came up with you know how we do silbatta? तो वो खत्म हो गया तो I bought this machine from Sri Lanka, the Indian machine which has like उसका जी हाँ, so which is like a stone का है, so you at least आपको जिंदगी में you getting modernized but not losing the flavor or the style of cooking. So that's what I liked about it. अब पाकिस्तान में क्योंकि वो आग पे मजबूरी होगी तो बनाएंगे, but not for the flavor, not for the love of making the food. So we killing it. The dig has been changed to silver because the copper बड़ी महंगी पड़ती है, उसकी वो जो क्या कहते हैं उस पे जो पॉलिश होती है कलाई, हाँ कलाई वाले it's very hard to find. So so there are only few people left in the towns. I just bought the other day उसको कटोरा जिसमें पानी पीने के लिए, so I made it कलाई तो पानी पीने के लिए. But that's what I'm so inspired by some food of India कि वो अभी तक उन्होंने अपनी heritage को रखा हुआ. The way it should be cooked.
The smaller restaurants in traditional parts of Mumbai, even लखनऊ में जाओगे जो निहारी वाला है वो लकड़े पर ही निहारी या कोयले पर, कोयला या लकड़े पर कुक करेगा, गैस पे नहीं कुक करेगा. Even Jafar Bhai is a huge caterer in Bombay. When he cook his kilo की बिरयानी जो पकती है वो लकड़े पर ही पकती है या कोयले पे, one of the two, you know.
Kunal, on the subject of Jafar Bhai's, you didn't finish your list. You have to still tell us your dessert to finish off.
Dessert, yeah, I'm waiting for that also.
My dessert. So, I have a very soft corner of bread. Yeah. So, Shahi Tukda, jo kehte hain, which is rabdi plus fried bread. Dono. Soaked in bloody sugar.
Yeah.
I love it.
Nice.
I also love Sindhi sev ki barfi style bura.
Oh, dude, that's my all-time favorite. My all-time favorite. The Sindhi sev barfi. Do you guys have this in as well?
Have you tried the tunde ki kebab?
Oh, of course.
I mean, again, that's me from YouTube. So I try to replicate it. I mean, I think that's going to be something really. I'm counting कि मैं जाऊँ जरूर try करूँ टुंडे की kebab.
Of course.
आप बम्बई आ जाओ, I'll give you better. वो काफी commercialized हो गया.
Is it tunda or the name is kebab?
तो उसका कुछ बाप दादा टुंडा होगा.
अच्छा.
Guys, as we
if you go to Lucknow airport पे भी बेचते हैं वो.
Yeah. Now it's gotten very commercial. Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, as we inch closer to lunch hours, tell our listeners what you all are eating right now in the next few minutes.
Oh, yaar, mere paas, since I'm living alone,
Sunday
so
afternoon.
I'm depending on my sister's calling me कि क्या भेजूं, so
I don't know.
Sunday है कुछ बिरयानी आएगी मेरे ख्याल में.
अरे, I'm very jealous, by the way. अगर बिरयानी आ रही है तो I also live alone. And I am getting some pizzas from somebody who's doing some new pizzas, okay? But I've decided not to eat them. I'll take them in the evening. I'm ordering some Frankies. Tips Frankies. Order for lunch right now.
Nice.
I don't know.
मैं अभी Frankies पे आता. You guys have हमारे पास disappear हो गया that flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
वो नहीं था
जो space में.
Sandwich को then you grill it.
Yeah, of course. Toasties.
उसका बड़ा मजेदार टेस्ट था.
हाँ, toasties. आप उनको flying saucer बोलते हैं. हाँ जी, हाँ. You all call it flying saucer.
हाँ, वो वाला वो sandwich maker था, वो old school sandwich maker.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. Absolutely. अभी that's very very common street food for the evening after college. College के बाद काफी हम लोग खाते थे.
अच्छा.
It's all but disappeared.
Yeah, now of course with COVID and blah blah blah, there are so many reservations for people eating street food on the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can eat that bucket.
मुझे एक और I have another question. Once again, a behavioral question. So, you guys your career is food, right? So how do you मतलब in a country where everybody हाँ यार मैं सब कुछ खाता हूँ और मैं सब कुछ बना सकता हूँ, everybody. How do you, what was it like when you decided that you wanted to pursue, like literally pursue a career in food? Did you get ridiculed? Did you go offers? Or what was it like? Kunal, how about you first?
Because Kunal का मुझे नहीं पता, मेरा क्योंकि I was a chef और होटल पढ़ा था, chef is बावर्ची खानसामा, उसको कोई लड़की भी नहीं देता था. So my wife says, ये घर वालों को ये नहीं बताना तुम ये करते हो. Amma was like never happy कि मेरा बच्चा ये पढ़ रहा because the पूरा खानदान is doctor, engineer, you know. So I had to do a degree for mom, the IT में कि आप पढ़ लो वरना अम्मी तो you know मुझे कभी accept नहीं करेंगी कि उनका बच्चा खानसामा है. But I got lucky in a way कि that was right time था मेरे लिए जब you know the boom of cooking chefs channels पे आ रहे थे, the media and all that. So I got just lucky. Otherwise, I would be working 12 hours, 13 hours in back of the house with less salary. So it's not very what glamorous job है नहीं because we made it very glamorous on TV. But and you know, so its reality is not that as glamorous. It's not very because you work on your holidays. शादियों में आप नहीं जा सकते. You don't see your family often. It's just like if you have a passion, the only you can make it. Am I right now?
It might not be glamorous, but it's very tasty. So, yeah, I mean.
बेटा यकीन करो मैं when you do it 24/7 it doesn't give you any pleasure of doing it. अभी तो हम जाते हैं एक शो करके आ जाते हैं. If you I'm being honest, if you put me back in the kitchen, I won't survive a day.
So my story is a little different. I did not make a career out of cooking. I made a career out of eating. It's much simple. So I am not a trained chef. I don't even pretend to be a chef. Yeah. So I was first an actor. I used to be in advertising. My education is art. I'm a graduate of the JJ School of Art, and I joined advertising. I was in advertising for many years, 11 years, and I did a lot of theatre. And because of theatre, I got into television, and I used to write. So I used to write a food column for a very long time. Okay. And then there was a new channel coming up which says, "Would you bring in your writing and your acting skills, food skills and this thing skills together in front of a camera?" And I said, "Chalo karte hain." And so that's how I started. So the love for food and the love to eat has always been there. I can cook, but I'm not a great cook. I mean, not as good as anybody who's a trained chef. But I have in this life managed to travel a lot, eat a lot, and obsess about food all the time. सुबह उठ के सोचता हूँ क्या खाऊं, रास्ते में क्या है, lunch पे क्या है, dinner में क्या है. So that is my.
And you make a living out of it.
If I may.
I think we are very fortunate people. We are doing what we love.
Absolutely.
And I think we're really fortunate to have guys like you share your passions with us on this podcast today. And thank you so much for spending this time with us and talking us through your passions and your recipes, and for us being able to create and facilitate this cross cultural exchange. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have both you guys. This is a point of time in our podcast where Saadat, Kunal, you tell our listeners what you're working on currently, where they can find you, what they should look out for, what content you're creating. Go ahead, Saadat, and then Kunal, we'll have you jump in as well.
I think I jumped on social media very late. I'm still learning new trades of the business. But you cannot teach old dog new techniques. Wali baat hai, but I'm learning. So hopefully I learn. My current project is basically I'm attached with this brand, food brand. We make spices. So I'm the brand ambassador. So my current show will be on, which is exploring Pakistan on 4x4. That should be on air soon, which I produce. I'm a producer as well, and I'm doing. I live in US, so I am doing introducing national the spices in that market with Indians and then the Mexicans. So I'm trying to influence them with our food. That's my current thing. So I'm making like a 3-minute tabletop tasty kind of videos. That's the
nice.
So I have a Facebook which is Chef Saadat, Saadat, Chef Saadat. Where I do lives, I put my stuff, I travel, and then I put a lot of travel foods and stuff like that. And Instagram is chef.saadat, chef.saadat, Chef Saadat. That's where I always post my stories. I'm not good at it, I'm still learning.
Of course.
That's
Thanks for that, Saadat. What about you, Kunal? What are you working on now?
Saadat, this makes two of us. I also jumped onto the social media thing rather late in life. after being quite arrogant about ये क्या है, ये क्या Twitter क्या है.
Exactly same. Well, ये पागल लोग हैं, इनकी क्या value है?
Not like these young boys who've been doing it from day one, you know.
Yeah.
I have always had two careers in my life. One is a food career, and the other is a acting career, a comedy career. And I still do a political satire show on television, which is still on air. So future plans are we're trying to do something with Suveer to work on the digital footprint of that. And in the meanwhile, I am just about trying to start and launch a food YouTube channel with myself.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So that hopefully mid-February we will do that. And on the channel, there'll be shows doing what I do best, which is eating.
Good luck with that.
How lovely. Yeah. Good luck with that, Kunal, and good luck with that, Saadat. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys with us.